homestand and a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And as Ryan showed graphically on the show last night, on the second night of a back-to-back, the Kings can't put the ball in the ocean. Their three-point shooting is just awful. 3 of 17 in that first half from downtown. They get absolutely nothing from their bench. 4 combined points, Malik Monk not playing. But I don't want to hear about injuries because Minnesota's playing without, Towns. So 59-47 at the break, Ryan.
Yeah, Grant, you summarized it well. It's not for a lack of effort. It's a play. 8 assists here in the first half for the Kings. That's a very low number and directly speaks to missing Malik Monk.
Yeah, but okay, so they don't have Karl Anthony Towns. You don't have Malik Monk. And other than Fox, right? I mean, De'Aaron Fox, again, is doing what he always does. He plays amazingly well. Then you have Harrison Barnes, okay? 14 minutes, doesn't make a basket. You have Kevin Huerter, 11 minutes, 1 of 6 from the floor, okay? Murray played 18 minutes. He missed 3 of 4 from downtown. Again, the bottom line here is you're going to need more than De'Aaron Fox to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, you are. It's a playmaking problem, as I said, but this is where Keegan Murray needs to step up, Grant. As you said, the bench non-existent. And you've got to turn. You've got to get separation, and that's what Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox do for you. They get separation that opens things up for Sabonis. Keegan Murray has shown this week he can do the same. Has to be the second half of Keegan.
Again, you showed that graphic last night illustrating what happens with no rest. And the numbers just fall off the side of the mountain in terms of shooting and points and everything else. And so this game's not over. So I'm going to temper my comments right now when I say this. But I cannot start taking the Kings seriously. And when I mean seriously, I mean as an upper echelon team, one of those teams that I'm going to circle and go, yeah, I could see them going to the finals or the Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to get there until I start seeing them figure out this part of what has been a real puzzling dilemma for me. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think what we talked about is it's got to be another piece, and I don't get it either, Grant, but they've got to work with what they have now, and they see what Minnesota does. If something's not working, they go to another option, and with the Kings on the second night of the back-to-back, it's just not working. At least tonight they have some bounce, and tonight, honestly, as you laid out, I think they have a chance. With the three ball not going in, and Minnesota not pulling away.
Especially if Rudy Gobert picks up a 4th foul early in the second half.
Agreed.
Because, he's got 15 points and 10 rebounds, but he's got 3 fouls. So, without Rudy Gobert, I think the Kings would be able to then take off. So I think that's a real key. Will Rudy Gobert, how many minutes will he play in the second half? Right now he's got 3 fouls. That's a real key.
It's a huge key. And how is Mike Brown going to adjust to try to get the ball or go attack Rudy to get that 4th foul? Because they're going to have to make an adjustment sooner they did last game in terms of going a little bit bigger.
All right, again, 59-47. I'm not picking the Kings to win this game. Okay, I'm not. I don't. Your numbers last night are still stuck in my brain. And without Malik Monk, I'm wondering, other than Fox, and you mentioned a couple of names, who's going to come in and rescue this team? Who's going to be able to stop Edwards? Nobody's been able to stop Edwards, right? I mean, even though he didn't shoot the ball well from downtown, he ended up with 19 points. Someone other than Fox, is it going to be Murray? Is it going to be Barnes? Will Huerter wake up? Will Trey Lyles get going? He, again, in 11 minutes only had 1 point. I just don't like what I'm seeing in terms of the Kings winning this game. I'm not saying they can't win it. I'm not saying they won't win it. I'm just not picking them to win it.
Well, even if Grant, even if Trey Lyles gets going here in the second half, the Kings are going to have to find something else from the bench to get going with him as well. I think it's a 2-pronged approach for the Kings. The first thing you do, you're going to throw the kitchen sink at Anthony Edwards defensively, put Kessler Edwards in, let him get 6 fouls, pick up full court. And then offensively, who's going to step up? It's got to be somebody else besides Keegan Murray. And probably Sasha Vezenkov is the way I'm looking in the second half.
All right, they aren't a contender if they can't show any signs of competing in back-to-backs. I agree. Grant Victor says, no Malik, all bad for us. Jay chimes in. Katie says Duarte can't make his shots because he doesn't play with the first unit enough. I'm not even going to respond to that. All right. I'd rather have Terrence Davis than Duarte. You know, Jerry Reynolds pretty much said the same thing, I think, a week ago on this program.
I disagree. I don't see why you would rather have. Yeah, I don't get that.
He was just talking about, I think he was going back to his playoff performance in the final game of the year. So, you know, we'll see. I'm with you. It's neither here nor there for me.
Sure.
I'm not, you're not going to win a playoff series or not win a playoff series if you make the playoffs based on what Chris Duarte does. Okay. So it's not really, I'm not going to waste my time I shouldn't say waste my time. That's what we do here on this show, but I'm not, you know, I have to look at other areas. And right now I'm looking at two of the starters in Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter to help out Sabonis and Fox.
Well, they've got to do something. If you don't have anything going inside besides Sabonis, then the Timberwolves are able to collapse, and they're already bigger than Sabonis, which causes an issue. So yes, something will have to change with what they do. It's just the lack of adjustments, Grant, on this team in terms of when they're struggling. I don't see it happening here in the second half.
Says Duarte should be ready when given notice. If he fails, which he has done much this year, let him go. Well, you're not going to let him go. Listen, Duarte's not a starter. So I don't know why anyone would even make a comment that he doesn't play with the starters enough. He's not a starting player in the NBA. He's a role player. He's a reserve player. Now in a pinch, you can have him start, okay? In a situation where you're shorthanded, you can have him start, but that's not what he is. He's not a starter, okay? He's a role player. Can he play better? Yes, he can play better, but his role is as a reserve, not as a starter. I mean, I think that's pretty clear cut. And I'm very well aware of Kevin Huerter not having a good year, but, you know, I'd much rather see a different combination than one with Duarte starting. We've already seen that this year. I wasn't in favor of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Kings are 17-10, and that's with Kevin Huerter predominantly in the starting lineup. So I don't think that change makes a huge difference nor makes sense.
Yep. Yep. All right, we got Serbia checking in. You put bench on the floor and you get this. This is the only reason I don't like the NBA sometimes. You have 110% energy one game. Next game, you're some other team from another planet. I don't get it either. It's too big of a difference. And Ryan put the graphic up last night. You know what, Ryan? If it were just a slight difference, I'm like, okay, you know,
right.
But it's like night and day. You know, it's night and day.
Yeah, just to give you a point of reference, because I know people were asking in the chat last night about Boston and their separation between wins and losses, 10 points. So the Kings are double that. So yeah. I get Boston's a top team in the league, and that's where the Kings want to be, but that's far too big of a gap, Grant.
All right, it's 59-47. Give us your prediction. I'm going to say the Timberwolves win this game tonight, 116 to 106.
Okay, I'm going to say the Kings make it interesting. I think this will actually be one of the few close games the Kings have had this year.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Minnesota 116, Sacramento 109.
All right, so you got 116, 109. I got 116, 106.
Yep. So we're right in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the biggest key to me in the entire second half. How long will Rudy Gobert play in the third quarter before he picks up his fourth foul?
Yeah, I think that you got to go there. And along with that, if he does go out rebounding, the Kings are getting killed on the boards right now. And that's they did around in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, Sacramento for the first half shoots only 36%. And then from three, 17%. That's not going to get it done. That's just not going to get it done. And, you know, we all know that. I mean, free throws were good. You know, you got to the line 17 times. You made 14, whereas Minnesota only had 4 free throws in that first half, Ryan, and they made 3. They only got to the line 4 times.
Yeah, so the Kings are trying their best to defend without fouling, but they're getting beat at their own game. Minnesota, fast break points, point in the paint, both winning those tonight. So right, there's room, Grant. They could win tonight. They could.
Of course they could. Anita says the Kings will get hot from 3 and win 109 to 105. The reason why I don't think they're going to get hot from 3 is based on the numbers that Ryan shared with us last night. what we saw in this first half, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, was just a continuation of the numbers that you showed us last night. Like there's been no deviation in that graph from playing on the second night of a back-to-back, this being the fourth game. So when you look at the previous 3 games, 12 quarters, now 14 quarters, the numbers are the same. Why would I think they're just going to all of a sudden change in quarters 15 and 16? I don't.
You don't. And the only deviation tonight is they're slightly worse, 17%.
And they don't have Monk.
The 3-point.
And they don't have Monk to rescue them off the bench tonight.
And you're getting nothing. You know, the caveat would be, is Keon Ellis giving you productive minutes offensively? He is not tonight. So can he get going in the second half?
All right. Lydia's got Minnesota winning 112-89. I would be shocked if the Kings don't score 90 points in this game. That would shock me. Like that would really surprise the heck out of me.
But would it shock you in a season like this thus far, where it's just been, you can't quantify what's going on with this team?
Yeah, that means they would only score 42 points in the second half. Yeah, that would shock me.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. Not the way you want to go out on the 6-game homestand, even though it's still 4-2. You want to end stronger.
And you said the game's not over. I'm admitting the game's not over. There's a lot of basketball left. 12 points is nothing, okay? And again, I think the number one key to look for at the start of the second half is Rudy Gobert. How long will he stay on the floor before he picks up his 4th foul?
Yep, spot on, partner.
All right, we'll be back at the end of the game, so make sure that you join us right after the game. Will the Kings make the comeback? We'll find out in a little more than an hour. Thanks for joining us here at the halftime. Kings have some work to do. A lot of basketball left.